opportunity breeds opportunity.
Get caught doing the right thing, right? Don't get caught doing the wrong thing. Get caught doing the right thing. The freedom to do whatever you want when you want to do it is more important than anything else. And people overlook that.
Anybody that's been around for 5+ years knows that finish line doesn't exist, man. Because if you do actually achieve what you set out to do, as soon as you get there, you set a new higher bar anyway.
The more money I make, it will solve all that problem, right? But what happens if you don't pay attention is the more money you make, the more money you spend. And now we got 4 going at the same time. We're looking for the next deal. You know, we got private money. We got a whole bunch of things. And it's like, that would have never happened for me if I didn't lose 15 grand. Our accountant was like, hey, you lost a lot of work. You can't support this. Like, you guys got to go get jobs. We're going to go bankrupt and go get jobs. And I was like, well, what if I don't do that? What if I grow out of that?
Welcome back to the Revamped Podcast. Super excited today. Got an awesome episode for you. If you are new here, make sure to hit like and subscribe. It really helps us continue bringing awesome guests, business owners, real estate investors, entrepreneurs to share their story through the trials and tribulations of life and business. And super excited today to have Matt Gough with us to share a little bit about your real estate endeavors. And, you know, you already shared with me a couple weeks ago, like your business journey through, you know, starting a security company and scaling that up and into home services and everything else. And it's really impressive, man. So thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me. It's a true honor. You're doing great things. And as you know, like I kind of cold reached out to you because your content is fucking awesome.
Thank you, bro.
You're really doing great things for the community, with real estate especially. But you're really showing the true way, and I appreciate that. And that's why I reached out, and obviously we connected. But no, I'm happy to be here, truthfully.
I love that, man. I love that. Yeah. So, dude, take us back to the start. Like, how did you first make your entry into the security business, the security industry?
So I started doing security actually in high school. My senior year of high school, I was a security guard, right, for Mainline Protection Services, which is now my company. But back then it was owned by a previous owner. And then my dad was a cop in Lower Merion Township. So when he retired in 2007, him and my uncle bought that business from the prior owner as my dad helped build it since the 90s. And I was, you know, after high school, I graduated Ohio in 2004. I did a bunch of shit, right? I did roofing. You know, I went to college for a semester and realized, nah, this isn't for me. I stopped going to class. And when I went back to my English class, she was like, remember, you have a 10-page paper due Thursday. I was like, no, I don't have a 10-page paper due Thursday. I'm going to withdraw from classes. And that's what I did. But, you know, that was a Tuesday. On Wednesday, I had a job. I was removing slag on a building in Southwest Philadelphia, which was tremendously awful. And I started thinking, man, what the fuck did I do? Mm-hmm. But I just kept going, right? I was doing odd jobs, doing construction, delivery service, working in a restaurant. I was a hustler. I always worked. My favorite was doing cement and concrete. Like, it was great.
Okay.
But I knew I can't do this forever, right? So
takes a toll on the body.
I was already feeling it, right? Playing years of football and stuff. I was already beat up. I knew, like, I can't do this forever. And I'm like, all right, my dad was a cop. My uncle was a cop. I'm just going to go be a cop. So I went back to work for Mainline Protection to start taking tests. I thought, all right, I'm going to be a security guard on that. On my resume, it'll say I'm doing security. It'll look good. Luckily for me, I wasn't a good test taker, so I never got hired. And then I just kind of grew with the company, and we got into electronic security, so I was able to kind of dabble in that. And then I helped build it, and in 2015, secured the funds and bought my uncle out of the business. So my dad and I were business partners, which was great, you know, at first. And then it was like clashing.
At first?
Yeah. You know, he knew a lot more than me, obviously, but nobody could tell me anything. And you know that experience. Like, I was hard-headed. I knew everything that I needed to do, and nobody could tell me nothing. And we had a hard run for like 2 years. And 2016 was a real tough year. We were doing like maybe $3 million in sales. And throughout that year, we bled out like $1.1 million in work. And our problem as business owners was we didn't make any changes. We didn't lay anybody off. We didn't, you know, downsize our office space, didn't cut any expenses. So we created a lot of debt. And the debt, a lot of it was created with IRS debt, right? We had the IRS money. And it became this problem behind the scenes where, like, we weren't getting paid. The IRS was making us squash every investment we had, all of our money, telling us, don't pay credit card, like nothing. And we just kind of burned ourselves out. And finally, they agreed to a payment plan. And our accountant was like, hey, you lost a lot of work. You can't support this. Like, you guys got to go get jobs. We're going to go bankrupt and go get jobs. And I was like, well, what if I don't do that? What if I grow out of that? He's like, Matt, like, that's great, but how do you plan on doing it? I said, I have no fucking clue. But if you're not telling me it's impossible, that's what I'm going to do.
Dude, I love that.
And we went from like 1.9 million to 3 to 5 to 7. And we just scaled over the next 3 years like crazy. Took on a lot of bad work, which was a big learning curve. Like, not all work is created equal in the business world. You take stuff on that's not good margin or drains your resources from your management team, that really has a net effect on the back end. You lose people and people don't stay. Your culture goes to shit. So we kind of shrunk back down to like in between 5 and 6 million, where we like to hover.
Okay.
And we've been real successful at running an efficient, good security guard company in that operation, that world. So we've been lucky there. And then in 2021, we split off our brands. So electronic security really started to take off. So we created a new brand and built that. And one of our specialties is in the cannabis space. So like when they first came to us in the cannabis, we were like, whoa, what are you talking about? Like, we're security, we're police. We don't have anything to do with marijuana.
Yeah.
That's bad
That sounds
stuff.
illegal.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
this is a problem. And this woman who I'm forever grateful for, Chris Fisco, God rest her soul, she explained it to us. And she showed us a video of a woman giving her kid oil that was having a seizure. And it was like, he calmed right down. I'm like, I'm in. Like, if it can help people, I'm in.
That's so cool.
So we helped build the application for her to get approved. And she was very, very strong, man. She got approved. She built these 3 major stores who dominated the Pennsylvania market. She sold her company to a bigger company who we still do work with now. But that was a different problem, right? You know, in business, like, you keep crossing these bridges of problems. You're not expecting them, and you're learning every day, and the problems get bigger, right? You just get better at solving them. So they came to us, the bigger companies, like, hey, we're not going to need your services anymore because we have our own vendors. I'm like, I respect that. Like, if a company bought another company of mine, I want to go in with them, respect it. We'll make the transition as easy as possible. So now we're doing work in West Virginia. And they call us and say, hey, our current vendor can't handle the work in West Virginia. Can you do it? Done, right? We get it done, knocked it out, no problem, had a deadline, building out the cameras, alarms, access control systems. West Virginia store number 2 comes on. And the GC calls us and says, hey, are you guys doing this project? I said, no, they told us their other vendor's going to do it, not us. He's like, well, shit, dude, like, we're closing the walls. Like, what the fuck? So I told my guys, like, you know what? Just go over and run the wires. Like, let them close up the walls, so we don't hold the process up. Because if you don't get inspected on the right time, they could pull your license. So it's a problem. So I said, all right, like, just go do it. So the vice president called me. He's like, did you run the wires over there? I said, I did. He said, did anybody tell you to do that? I said, no, I just didn't want to see you guys get screwed. Like, I understand if you can't pay me for it, just do it. He's like, no, I'm going to pay you for it. And I really appreciate it, but don't ever do that again. I'm like, cool. But what that did was it showed them that, like, we cared about them.
Man.
And
That's massive.
It was huge. I mean, I'll tell you how huge it was. They went in and started looking at their other vendors and realizing they're not doing what Mainline will do for us. Now we handle them nationwide.
I love that,
We
dude.
expand nationwide from that one decision of, like, doing the right thing. Get caught doing the right thing, right? Don't get caught doing the wrong thing. Get caught doing the right thing.
See, and a lot of people would look at that as a gamble. That's a risk, right?
Yeah.
So like, how much cash outlay did you have to lay out to do that job?
Probably would have been about 25,000. It would have been a risk.
That's a big
Significant
gamble
amount of money,
for
right?
a lot of people. Yeah,
right.
man,
It's not a couple $100. I mean, that was like, all right, if I don't get that back, I'll take that on the chin. It is what it is. But it was the right thing to do because they were going to get screwed. They were going to get screwed, and it worked out. Do they all work out? No, but I think when you do the right thing, it's always going to work out in your favor.
Yeah,
for
man.
sure.
In some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes it's down the road, right?
That's right.
I
It's not
believe in
always
karma.
immediate.
You know, I believe in karma.
That's right.
Just do the right thing and don't expect. Yeah.
And you know, like, we both have kids, and I look at it that way too. Like, my kids are happy and healthy, so maybe that's just the way it's coming back.
Yep.
But that's okay with me. I'm good with that. You know,
love
that's the
that,
most
man.
important thing. So I've been pretty lucky, right? And I'm working through, and, you know, luck is, we create our own luck. We work through it. We've had our trials and tribulations. I've been on the verge of bankruptcy and back and building companies. And we both know people are what matters. Mm-hmm. So from there, I decided, well, I know business well. I want to go back into doing real estate. I had a couple rentals I sold off during COVID. But I saw this flash and a bang on social media of wholesaling. And I'm like, whew, low-hanging fruit. this is going to be the easiest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yep.
I got some money. I'm going to throw some money at it.
I've ran real businesses, man.
Right. That's right. I know what to do. Like, I'm everything. I'm the guy. $140,000 later, one deal. I was like, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And realizing it, like, one, wholesaling is not necessarily a real estate business, right? It's an arbitrage business. It's just what it is.
Yep.
And that's not me. I'm not an arbitrage person. I can't do things that way. I'm a tangible person. I need to touch and feel. And I wasn't good at it. I hired people. They weren't good at it, or they were good at it, and I didn't know how to operate them in the business. I was just spending money on leads.
Yeah,
and
man.
the more money I spent,
expensive.
the worse it got.
Yeah.
And the more money I spent is the more money I spent because I needed to make the other money back.
Right.
So after about a year of that, I'm like, all right, I got to cut my losses, move on, and I'm just going to go, okay, I'm just going to flip houses because I can understand the concept. I do it, have done it, have been involved in them. I want to be in real estate, so let me do that. And I got convinced to buy a beautiful property in Camden, New Jersey.
Nice.
Oh, it's beautiful. Best street in the neighborhood. Not really. Literally the worst street in the neighborhood. I didn't know it.
Camden's still up and coming, man.
It is.
It's kind
Dude, there's areas.
It really is. No, for sure.
This wasn't one of them. For sure. This was like, we've all worked in bad neighborhoods, but when you don't want to be there at all,
yeah,
that's a problem, right?
When you're trying to plan your day and you're like, dude, I got to get there before noon because after noon there's some riffraff.
Right?
Yeah.
So I bought this house, $73,000 with a $45,000 rehab budget, and they were going to sell for like $225 to $250. I'm like, okay, I can make some money. Great. I got to park some money. I got to make some money back because I lost so much. I got to make a bad decision to make it all back. And who wants to work in bad neighborhoods is bad contractors, right? And inexperienced contractors, like say, they weren't bad people, weren't bad at all. They were inexperienced, and I wasn't going there enough to check on them because I didn't want to be there. And 11 months later, I had to bring in 3 more contractors to finish the job. So it ended up costing me like $80,000 and actually $85,000 in rehab costs. So now I'm in it for $150,000. I was wrong about the comps. So not $225, $250, maybe $150. So I ended up selling the house for like $145, lost $15,000, my first deal. And I'm like, all right, well, look at all the lessons I just learned. Mm-hmm. I can either put my tail between my legs and go home, or I can do it again with the lessons I learned. Went right out and bought another one. And we made like $40,000 on that one.
Dude, I love
It's like a quick turn. We're like, all right, we're okay, right? Yep. And right now, I mean, that was, a while ago. Now we got 4 going at the same time. We're looking for the next deal. We got private money. We got a whole bunch of things. And it's like, that would have never happened for me if I didn't lose $15,000.
Dude,
it just
that's
never would have happened.
Right.
It's not how I operate.
I just had this conversation with my oldest daughter. She's 13.
Okay.
And like over the weekend, she was like baking some cookies or something. I don't know. It was some sort of fancy like dessert type of thing. Yeah. And she was working on it for like 4 or 5 hours, man. And she ended up like burning them when they were in the oven or whatever. And dude, she was a wreck. Like she's crying and everything. And she's like, she's baked things before and everything's always been fantastic, right? But it was her first time doing this and it didn't turn out, right? And she was just an emotional train wreck. And I'm trying to explain to her, I'm like, Mia, you realize everything that dad has ever done the first time, I fuck it up. Like I have
as far fucked up as you can get.
Yeah, man. It's like, it's very rare. And not just for me, remove me from the equation. It's like most people, like it's logical when you think of it from this perspective. Most people, when you do something for the first time, you suck at it.
Yeah.
It's actually insane to think that you're going to do something for the first time and be good at it.
Yeah. No matter what.
So yeah, no matter what it is, but you do it a little bit more and you learn from it and you just keep going and you start sucking a little bit less to the point where you actually get pretty good after time, right?
I think
gotta not quit.
That's the thing, right? It's the keep going that's really the secret in all of it. Because once you get from here to here to here, once you start climbing a little bit, it starts jumping.
It does.
Right? You start compounding that interest of of the work you're putting in, and you learn that much faster, and bing, bang, boom, all of a sudden you're like, holy shit,
but what's
look where
fucked up about it and challenging is it's not just this.
No.
Sometimes it's
definitely is.
Right?
Yeah. Way back, way further down than you were.
That's
right? I mean, 100%. I tell the story all the time when I was going through like that, the bankruptcy or close to bankruptcy. Like I remember Like I had my credit card. I'm like, all right, let me order pizza for the family tonight. And it got declined. And that was my only option to buy my kids pizza on a Friday night. And I couldn't do it. And it was like humbling for me. Humbling to the core of like, what am I really doing? Right? What am I going to do? I can't just do the same old shit. Like you got to make changes. You got to look at and whatnot. And luckily I was blessed that a couple years before that, I'd started to listen to podcasts and books and stuff like that. And people like Andy Frisella and Brad Lee, like they were instrumental in changing my mindset of who I was versus where I'm going, or like we were talking about earlier, like who do you want to be and what do you want? You know what I mean? In my head, I always wanted the big house, the beach house, the Ferraris. And it's like, once you get into where you're making some money, you're like, who really fucking cares?
Yeah.
Like the freedom to do whatever you want when you want to do it is more important than anything else. And people overlook that. They think that all that stuff's got to come first, and it doesn't.
Yep.
You know?
Fully
So it
agree.
truly
Dude,
is.
like the ability to just be able to sit here on a weekday
Right.
and schedule a podcast and talk about your experiences, your life, your journey, and share that wisdom with somebody else, like that in itself, that is a level of freedom that it sucks to say, but most people won't even achieve that level of freedom
Right.
because they simply don't go and fucking chase it.
That's it. They won't fucking go. Like, God forbid you go out on a limb and that limb breaks and you won't do it again and again and again and again until there's one limb left on that tree. But that's the limb you need to get to.
Yeah.
That's where you need to be. You know, it's the keep going. I really think is the instrumental part in business. If you don't keep going, you just can't.
That's right, man.
Like, you know, Alex Morosi says, which I love, is, you know, business is not, it's not a win-lose game, right? It's just infinite. Like you want to just keep going. If you keep playing the game, you are winning.
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
Yep.
But it's when you quit that matters.
Fully
Once
agree.
you stop doing it, that's it.
Dude, I think that's one of the traps too, is like guys when they're newer in business or investing or flipping or whatever, like they kind of set this mental like finish line.
Yeah.
And, you know, as an entrepreneur, anybody that's been around for 5+ years knows that that finish line doesn't exist, man. Because if you do actually achieve what you set out to do, as soon as you get there, you set a new higher bar anyway. So it's like exactly like you just said, man, it's infinite. It never really ends. But if you're so focused on that finish line, and then once you get there, dude, it can lead to like some really fucked up depression and, you know, feeling unfulfilled because you worked your ass off to get somewhere because you thought that once I get here, I'm going to feel good about myself. I'm going to have freedom. I'm going to have the cars. I'm going to have the house. I'm going to have all this stuff. And so many times when people get there, they're like, dude,
not happy now.
Yeah.
Like that's the tangible things that'll make you happy. Well, you know, I just turned 40 a couple weeks ago. My wife asked me like, how do you feel about turning 40? And I was like, you know, honestly, I don't care about the number. Like that doesn't mean it. I've been 40 for freaking 20 years. I don't care about that. I said, but I have been reflecting personally more. And I said, and I feel unaccomplished. Ooh. And she's like, why do you feel like that? Like you have 3 businesses and you have 5 kids and we're married. We have a good relationship. We do what we want to do. And I said, it's not all that. And I said, I don't know what it is, but I started digging in. And I was talking to my dad about it. And what I came up with that I think is the truth is because I don't recognize what you just said, is that I keep moving the goalpost. So I don't recognize the wins in between. And I've just moved the goalpost recently, and I've changed things in my business where I've taken a step back and I'm trusting people and putting people in place and making sure measurables and training them, that I feel kind of lost. And that's why I feel unaccomplished, because it's a total different ball game right now. And I'm like, but that makes sense to me, is because we keep moving the goalpost. But that's what keeps us going.
that's right.
It does. I mean, because it's live or die. You can't just shut this thing off. You know, maybe one day I haven't made enough money yet to shut this thing off and say, I'm good. I'm going to go live in Boca Raton and do my thing. I'm not there yet. Maybe one day. And even that day comes, I'll never be able to do it.
It's going to be on to the next thing
I can't sit still. I sit on the beach for 3 days. I'm like, let's go. Got to go make some money. Got to be productive.
Exactly right.
But Saturday mornings, my wife's like, you going to do something today? I'm like, I'm going to go clean the whole house because I need to be moving. I need to be productive, and I can see productivity in those things. Like, there's shit to do. We got to do them.
Yep.
You know? And she's like, you just can't sit still. I'm like, I can't.
Yep.
I can't. I don't want to, though, either. I feel like how I'm built is I'm dead if I'm sitting still.
Dude.
Like, that's what it is.
I'm with you.
5 minutes on the couch, and I'm like, let's do something.
So I want to go back to, so you said it was like 2016 when you were dealing with all the challenges and everything, and maybe I'm going to end up bankrupt or whatever. Obviously,
well, 2016 is when the process started, right? So it would have been like end of 16, early 17.
Okay, gotcha. What was your mindset at that time period? Because obviously you freaking powered through it and you hunkered down and you kind of made that decision. But like, what was your overall mindset at that time? Like, did you even kind of accept that failure was a possibility?
I don't think I did. I looked at it like when we finally came out to what we owed the IRS, right? There's other debt, but the IRS was the scary debt, right?
Yeah, man.
So you had them like $200,000. Which is obviously a tremendous amount of money, but they turned it into $560,000 because there's penalties, there's interest. There's anybody that has a problem with the IRS, like that shit gets tacked on. And with this type of problem, it was heavy, and it was what they call personal trust fund. So like you can't go bankrupt and get out of it. You still pay that no matter what.
Holy crap!
So it was like, what are we gonna do? It was like, get rid of all the other debt by going bankrupt and just pay this. And I remember sitting there thinking, like, what the fuck am I going to do? Right. And I started thinking, like, what are my other options? What other businesses? What can I do? And I that was for like a day. And literally I'm like, wait a second. I know the security world. I know what I'm doing, and I know what I need to do, but is it possible? And that's when I asked that question, and he was like, it's not impossible basically, but it's not likely either. And I remember the first thing I started doing was like, all right, I got to go knock on doors. Like, I got to basically knock on doors. I got to go into buildings and ask for work. And there was a bank called Bryn Mawr Trust, which is now WSFS. And I'm pacing outside of this bank, like nervous, sweating. Am I going to really go in there and be like, I need to talk to somebody about security? And then it dawned on me. Well, they have security, and I've been out here for 15 minutes walking by the doors, and nobody's come out.
True.
Like, they deserve better. And that's what I realized. Like, and I went in, and they were like, well, you can't talk to the CEO. Get the fuck out of here. But we'll take your card. A couple weeks later, they called me. We got a quote done. Boom. We take over their contracts, 4 branches. And it was like, now, as we know all in sales, it doesn't happen that way very often. Yeah. I really feel like God gave me that to build my confidence, to recognize you can do this. I have bigger plans for you. You can do this. Here's your confidence. Now go do it. Because obviously I knocked on a lot of doors and I didn't land every deal like that.
100%. Yep.
But then we scaled. So my mindset, luckily for me, and it was, again, I was exposed to books and podcasts where it was all about mindset. And I was new to it. So as you know, when you're new to it, it is like drinking from a fire hose. Like, it's in your brain all day, every day. And I was preaching it to everybody and positive and everything. And it was great. So I believe everything happens for a reason. And I really think, like, I needed to make a change in my life of who I am and how I was, that God gave me the gift of almost losing everything, but recognizing what I didn't lose was my family. But recognizing too, like, they deserve more out of me. And I've always taught my now 14-year-old, he's my stepson, so I've known him since he was 6. And I've always taught him, and he'll be the first one to tell you, like, what does having a lot of money mean? And he'll tell you, you can help a lot of people. And that is like, I was kind of taught at that time frame of, like, I want all this money to provide for my family, have them not want for anything, and I want to help as many people as I can. Somebody needs $1,000, like, here's no problem. You can pay me back, great. If you don't worry about it. You know what I mean? And I was able to shift my mindset deeply in those times, and it literally changed the trajectory of my whole life, for sure.
I love that, man. I love that.
It wasn't easy times, as you know, and
a
lot of people, let's say it this way, a lot of stronger men than me would have folded.
Yeah.
And God gave me the courage to not and keep pushing forward. And I do thank him for that, because it made my life, made me happy, right? I didn't know what I was chasing at that time. I thought I was chasing money.
Yeah.
I thought I was chasing the Ferraris, the beach houses, the vacations. I thought I was chasing all that stuff. And it turns out I wasn't. I was just trying to trace or chase peace in my life, and recognizing that what really matters is the family.
Yeah,
There's
man.
nothing else that matters. You know, we love what we do and we enjoy it, and I really do. I mean, I love it. But without that, zero purpose.
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I fully agree, man. Yeah. It's so crazy that so many times we need to get pushed to that almost breaking point to kind of learn lessons and dig deep within ourselves to kind of make connections and everything. Because, dude, I mean, before I ever really had challenging times in business, I had been big on mindset stuff, right? Like when I started in real estate 10 years ago, like I read a lot of books and everything. And I went to a lot of different seminars and the Tony Robbins stuff and everything. So like mindset was always one of my kind of core fundamental things. But until you actually get slapped and then you're on the ground and you're getting kicked repeatedly and you know, you're fucking bleeding from the mouth and everything, that's when you kind of really start to connect the pieces and really understand kind of what you've been told and what everybody around you has kind of been telling you, but you don't feel it, you know?
It's like application, right? Like I'm doing all these things, I'm practicing all the things, but without application doesn't matter. It's like, hey, watch this video on how to swim and I'm going to drop you in 50 feet of water. Now go swim. That doesn't fucking work.
Nah, man.
Right? You can learn as much as you want.
Gotta be in it.
Until you apply it and you actually use it, it doesn't really become a tool. You know, what's a hammer without a nail is irrelevant. So where are we really at? And that's the thing. Like people get hopped up on that stuff, but you forget like it's just training, right? So when the cops train, when the police train, it's so they default to that training when they're in the position they need to be in where they can't think clearly. It's just boom, this is what I do naturally. The more we push now in training and the positive energy and where people think we're crazy, like, why are you so positive? It's like, I'm just practicing. So when I get kicked in the face, I'm already in the mindset of doing it, you know, but it's application for sure.
I love that, man. I love that. So what were some of the other like strategic tactical changes that you made around that time, around 2017? Sounds like, so you kind of made this decision in your mind, I'm going out and I'm going to sell my way through this, right? I'm going to bring in new business, new revenue and everything. What were some of the other, did you make changes to the team, to the way that?
We made a lot of changes. So we streamlined our operation, right? So we were too spread out. We had divisions. We had like our support division, we had our finance division, we had our operations division, and nobody was working hand in hand, right? So everyone was spread out. So we streamed that to like one or two things really, which is like HR and operations, you know, and that HR handled the finance as well on the back end. But those two things is what we got really efficient in. We downsized our team. We rebranded, right? I wanted a fresh brand. I wanted a reason to be out there. We rebranded everything. We got a couple newer cars. So we made more investment into those things. Got them all relettered, which obviously costs money, doing all that. Those were some of the, like, I think the strategic things that mattered. We weren't carrying heavy costs and everybody was working harder. So everybody on the team was like, part of what I like to believe in is win-win. Everybody's got to win for it to make sense or for anything to work long-term. And our team then, which is all still with us now, we're all in it for the win-win. And they knew what that long-term goal was. Like, I got to do double the work, but I know what this is going to bring, you know? So we were blessed with that. And then what I didn't do was I didn't pay attention to numbers back then. Didn't care about them. Like, it wasn't, all I cared about was top line. And great, top line matters, but you need to worry about everything else in between too. So we started looking at numbers every week. Finance meetings every week.
Were you not looking at bottom line because you were just scared of what the number said?
No, I wasn't even thinking of it.
Okay.
I wasn't thinking of the importance of the budget. I just thought in my mind, the more money I make, it will solve all that problem, right? But what happens if you don't pay attention is the more money you make, the more money you spend.
Absolutely.
Right?
Leaky bucket.
Yeah, no question about it. And not like nobody was stealing or nothing crazy. It was just us being stupid and whatnot. It's just irresponsible. We were doing it basically like a lot of it sometimes was for people or for, hey, well, we don't really know. Maybe this job's going to come back or maybe it's not. We have an extra car. Like, what do you do? Right? You got to balance all that out. But starting to look at those numbers weekly changed my life too, because I'm like understanding what a business is, you know, like what does this actually look like and how is it supposed to run and what's this and what's that? And wait, we're operating on a negative $10,000 a month in budget. Like we can never get caught up, right? Yeah. We're not feeling the pain. It feels like cash flow issues, but it's there. Yeah. Eventually it's going to catch up. So we learned all that throughout, and it didn't always get better, right? We didn't always make the right decisions.
Of course.
We still, in our business, in that business, you pay the labor out and then you get paid. So it's always a cash flow problem. But I was big on like, don't go out and get big lines of credit because it gives you false hope.
Dude, it really does.
It gives you false hope. Like you don't chase people for money when you have money in the bank like that. And when it's not, when you got to pay interest on that money, it's even worse.
Yeah.
You know, what are we doing today? So we started, like, collections is a big deal in that company because you got to, you know, people pay, they owe us net 30 and it's like, all right, well, 35 days, 40 days, like we got to start making calls. So we flipped the whole industry. We started offering discounts for payment in advance. So we give somebody like 2% off, you pay us in advance. And people took us up on it. And then we said, you know, we don't accept anything less than or anything more than net 15. And we even lowered that to net 10. And people were like, fought us on it sometimes, but we got them to do it. And if they didn't want to do it, we charged them more money. It's like, now you're just going to pay interest for us loaning you money then. And we got real good at collecting money within 5 to 7 days of the due date, right? 2 days before and 5 days after is usually our window where we're hitting them hard. And not being afraid to say, hey, we understand, you know, you're going to get back to us on payment. We're not going to have a security guard there tonight until we can get paid. And that got a lot of people's attention.
Got some results.
We strategically did it on a Thursday and Friday night where those are your heavy nights.
Yep.
So we got a lot of results. So, so obviously efficiency in our processes, getting a process for finance, understanding our numbers, knowing them inside and outside. And I remember saying, like, when we hit like almost 7 million, I said, like, when you have problems at 7 million and problems at 2 million, they're drastically different things.
Way different problems.
One will put you out of business. You know what I mean? You could have a $500,000 problem at 7 million and not see it for 6-7 months and you're dead in the water. You're fucked. And looking at it, like, so constantly learning through that and being strategic and then being more client facing. You know what I mean? It was before it was like, hey, client says, we got to do this. No problem. We're doing it. But we're more reactive than proactive. So now it's like, be proactive. Go out there, see what our people are doing, see what the clients want, see if the expectations change. Where's the bar at? Where are we at? Instead of being like, well, you know, no news is good news. No, that's a problem. You got to get in front of your clients and you got to create the news because you're going to find out from them information that they're waiting. And then something happens. It's like, oh, these 7 things. It's like, if I would have known, I would have corrected them.
Right.
You know? So getting in front of customers and staying in front of them and being present and like listening to them.
Dude, it's massive.
Yeah,
it's massive. And it's relevant in every business, every industry, right? 100%. So like the person who's ultimately responsible for that internally for you in that company, is that, do you consider that a sales role or is it more of like a customer success kind of role? And is it like a salaried type position?
I use our operations manager for it because there's nobody better to do it and she gets her staff to do it. I tell her in that business, like 2 weeks. And she's like, what's 2 weeks? I said, you don't go 2 weeks without touching every client. Not 2 weeks without touching every client.
Wow.
There's too many to touch on a weekly basis because there are problems, obviously. But no more than 2 weeks without touching every client and having a conversation. Whether it be an email, a text message, a phone call, whatever it is, you have to touch them every 2 weeks.
Got it.
And she has been with us since 2017, I believe.
Okay.
She got brought on as a security guard in our company in 2017, and we quickly recognized her value and moved her up. And I think it was maybe 2.5 or 3 years ago, she became the operations manager. She's reported to like 3 operations managers above her, and she just stayed going with it. And we've gotten rid of them or they've quit or whatever. But she has grown. I mean, her name's Nancy. Like if I call her right now and say, Nancy, I got more work. She's like, tell me what I need to do. Not like, oh, how are we going to do that? She's always said, whatever we need to do, we're going to do it. I mean, she's amazing. So we're definitely lucky to have her, but that speaks to the culture, right? Once you get nitty gritty about what you're going to do and what you believe in and your values, like she's all in. And having that in every company is important. Like you said, I don't care what you do. You whittle sticks. If you don't have a culture, you're dying.
Yeah.
You're dying.
Yeah. Fully agree.
You know?
And, you know, just thinking of that, because I know you told me that like in the security company, you have how many employees? Like 100 employees
125.
or something? 125. That's a lot of employees.
It is.
Like, you know, thinking of it from the lens of a real estate investor, like I know guys that have massive companies that are doing, you know, stupid revenue, but they all have relatively small teams. Like a guy that's doing 10, 15 million in revenue in wholesale, fix and flip, stuff like that. usually they have a team of like maybe 20 people, and that's
Right.
big. It's
And
like
that's
they're the biggest dogs in the country, right?
Yeah.
So to hear of that much staff and overhead and the complexities of that and everything, it's like HR becomes a very real thing.
It's a daily thing.
And recruiting, right? I mean, so like you're constantly like, what is your retention rate on some of your employees?
So it used to be, it always was 10%. It was your turnover. Now, like after COVID, obviously COVID changed everything. It's now like between 17 and 18%.
And what does that mean? 17 and 18%?
We have a turnover of 17, 18%. So we're
In
like
how long?
Of 100 people every freaking month.
Okay. Gotcha.
Every month we're turning over people.
Got it.
Right.
Got it.
Well, really 17, 18% over the year, course of a year. But so it ends up being like, 3 to 4 people a month that we're having to replace, you know what I mean? From whatever it is.
Got it.
Most of them, I would say 90% end up getting terminated, and then some of them quit, right, for whatever reason. But we full-time recruit. Every single day we recruit.
What's your main means or method for that?
So
running ads?
it's Indeed. It's all Indeed is the best way we do. We can do a pretty good job now qualifying them through Indeed's chat. And then getting streamline that process. We're like, okay, we know we're going to hire you. Well, there's a good chance we're going to hire you, instead of being like, let's come in for an interview. We used to do all that hand paper, take your notes. All right, well, what was your last job? Which was just the way you did it.
Yep.
But imagine how slow that process is.
Yeah, man.
Now we can essentially talk to 100 people a day and narrow it down to like, okay, these 12 we want to interview. Maybe 6 of them, 7 of them show up for the interview. And it's like, okay, we know confidently.
That's a shitty funnel right there, man.
In that world.
It's brutal. Yeah.
In that world. I mean, you're talking about people that are making between $15 and $20 an hour. They have options, right? They have Amazon, they have the Ubers, they have the Targets. And it's like, we want you to come here. We want you to be in uniform every day. You got to walk around. You got to do this. You got to do that. It's demanding. You got to be clean shaven, not yada, yada, yada. Not wear big jewelry. Like a lot of things go into what we require.
For sure.
And it's like, yeah, I don't need to do this. I can do something else and make the same amount of money.
Yep.
So it's a very, very difficult thing. So the people that have been with us a long time, we really appreciate, because like they're in it. They're
Absolutely,
true security people. They're in it. And we have people that have been with us since the 90s. I mean, we have,
so cool.
we just celebrated someone that's been with us for 30 years and one for 35 years. Like,
wow.
It's excellent to be able to say that.
That's wild.
I know. It's crazy to think about, especially in a world where not many people do something for that long.
Ain't that the truth?
But they're doing it.
That's freaking cool, man.
Yeah. So it's really a special company, because I grew up in it, right? My dad essentially grew up in it. He started in the early 90s, right? He was a cop for like 10 years when he got into helping Bob build the business. My sister grew up in it, my sister's vice president. She handles in my holding company. She oversees all 3 companies. Like, she started stuffing envelopes in the security guard company for payday. Like, that's how she started part-time. Well, once a week, she stuffed envelopes for the company. And she grew into HR, support, finance, and now she's overseeing all the companies. And it's not because she's my sister. It's because she freaking does it. Like, to me, those are the proud moments.
Yeah, man.
The money's money, but those are the proud moments to me.
Wow, man.
People.
So you're growing through everything from 17, and you're kind of on an upward trajectory. And then in 21, you started doing some of the, what do we call that? Service-based industry
electronic
stuff,
security,
electronic security. Okay.
So we were doing it under the Mainline Protection brand since 2007, but we weren't really serious about it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It was like a service we offered. We did some work, not a lot. Wasn't our focus. We just kind of were doing it. It got big enough in 2019, really. It got big enough where I was like, all right, we got to split brands, because I need to know what's real. One business is supporting the other business today and tomorrow. I need to know what's actually happening. And so I started that process in 19, and then obviously COVID and all that bullshit. So at the end of end of 20 and early 21, I split off the brand and created Mainline Security Solutions.
Okay.
Created the electronic security brand. Now, right around that time, in that 21, is when the bigger company bought the other cannabis company we were working for, right? And they were like our primary revenue. We had some other clients, but still, they were our primary revenue. So for the next 2 years until like 2024, I said, my only goal, guys, is to get all the work from this big cannabis company. That's all I want to do. I want to be there to support them and everything they need us to do in their growth. throughout Pennsylvania, Ohio, Illinois, like wherever. That's our focus. We want other work. We're not going to turn it down, but we're not always going to go out and get it.
Yep.
Right? Which was a mistake looking back, and I'll get to that, but they grew like crazy. I mean, they grew like crazy, and so did we with them. I mean, it was great. We got everything we wished for. The only problem was in the new year, this year, they were like, hey, we're repurposing our capital. We're not in growth mode anymore. We are in OpEx mode. We want to, better performance. That's great. How can we help? But all that new work slowed down.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, going into the new year was like, now we really need to pivot, right? So now we're pivoting, bring on business development. Let's get serious about it. What's our ideal client? Walking through that process, that changed the whole thing, right? It's like you're rebuilding something. Obviously, there's still revenue coming in to support all of that, but not at the numbers we were getting. So we got to grow, which is already proving to be worth it. New opportunities coming and whatnot, but another, like, again, I've been in business it'll be 10 years July, and it's like, why did you not see this coming? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And what I look at is my focus, right? People ask me like, well, you have 3 companies, why can't I? I'm like, you can, but it's the dumbest thing you can fucking do. Because if you don't focus on one primary thing, it's going to cost you time and money. Yeah. I've recognized that, and I'm doing that. Right? I have more people than I need, and I'm spending more money than I need, and I'm going to take me a little longer than I want it to. But I'm already in it. I wouldn't go back and do it again, but I'm already in it. Yeah. Right? I've repurposed my goals for that. And people ask me that, like, well, what should I do? I'm like, whatever you do, just do that. Mm-hmm. Just focus on that one primary thing.
So easy to say and so hard to do,
So hard, especially for all of us. I mean, I am the epitome of squirrel.
Yeah.
Like, and so are you, I know.
Preaching to the choir, brother. Preaching to the choir. Like, right. Seriously, as I was growing and scaling my wholesale company, it was the hardest thing in the world to stay laser focused. Yeah. Because it's like, I already had done flips and I had made money with them. I already had started to build a rental portfolio, and I wanted to continue acquiring and everything. Right. But dude, I stayed laser focused. Maybe not laser focused. Pretty focused for like a solid 3 years. It's like, all right, maybe I bought 2 flips that year or something, but it's like, dude, I was focused. Like, I was dedicating 80 hours a week to my wholesale business, right? It's like, and I was still doing some other stuff, but I was dedicating 80 freaking hours a week to just that.
Yeah, and how hard was that?
So hard.
Damn near impossible.
So hard. But because that's the thing. It's like, opportunity breeds opportunity, right? So as you're on a growth trajectory like that, you see other like seemingly incredible investment opportunities, deals, partnerships, all these things. And, the shiny object syndrome is real. It's like, well, this won't be that hard. And I'll be able to make $100,000 or whatever the number is, man. Like, I just recently, I put my foot in my mouth, and I don't think I've mentioned publicly yet on social media, but I had a guy on a podcast a month ago, 6 weeks ago or something. Yeah. And after that, he was like, Drew, like, I really have wanted to start a real estate mastermind for a couple years now. I don't have the mental capacity. I don't have like some of the things that I feel are necessary to launch this, but you do. And I think we would make a great partnership in doing this. And dude, I had a 5-minute conversation with him about this. And I was like, dude, sounds fucking incredible. Let's go, right?
Start today.
5 minutes later, I make a post on Facebook saying, hey, we're doing this. We're launching this mastermind group and everything. And I had a bunch of people reach out. And basically, dude, I had people lined up ready to pay, like, because I didn't even know what to do, what to charge or anything. So I just threw out a stupid number. And I had people lined up that wanted to join. And after like 10 days pass, and Jake Ostrich is his name.
Yeah, I know Jake.
Like 10 days had passed. He's like, Drew, we really got to get on a call and figure out like what we're doing with these guys and everything. When I came to the conclusion that it took me 10 days to just get on a call with Jake to figure out the next step in what we're doing, I was like, I really don't have the capacity,
or even the drive right now to.
Well, and that's the thing. And I told him after the fact, I was like, I feel terrible. And I didn't really think much about it at all, other than when we had the conversation, I resonated with the message. Yeah. I think it's necessary. I think it's important. And I think I do have some of the skills necessary to help people in that realm. And I love it. I'm a big proponent of coaching, of masterminds, of mentorship, all of that. So I was just like, dude, I'm in. Yeah. And when I told Jake that I wasn't going to be able to commit to it, I was like, dude, I feel terrible. And the reason I feel terrible is because I believe in my fucking core that if you have the ability to help someone and you don't, that's not good.
It's not right.
That's not right. If you have the ability to help one person or a group of people, you should do it. Yeah. That's it. Like, and I want to be able to do that, but it's like this season of my life, of my business journey and everything. It's like, it's just not feasible right now.
But you're doing
I'm trying. It's like, that's the point of the podcast, right?
But you're doing it. You know, like I said, like I've been in business for almost 10 years. I start following you and I'm like, man, this guy, like, obviously he wants to help people. You can just tell by your post, and you are, right? Putting your message out there, doing this podcast. I was like, hey, you want to have lunch? You're like, yeah, absolutely. And it was like, dude, like, you are helping people. So I think you need to put that in your mind that I am helping people at the capacity I can right now.
I appreciate
So you're doing that. And one day you'll be able to increase that capacity when you're ready. And you'll know when it's time. Honestly, I think you did the right thing, because you would have fucking never did it to the level you want to do it.
Exactly right.
Poor Jake gets screwed in it.
Damn it.
But you would have never
I told Jake he should still do it, man, because like I think he's got a lot of value to give and bring to the table and everything.
He does, for sure. Oh, yeah, definitely. But so, yeah, I don't want you to be hard on yourself.
I appreciate that,
I'm not being nice just because you're the host of this podcast, but it's the truth. It's the truth. You're helping people at the capacity you can, and that's what I'm doing. Like I was telling you earlier, I met this guy yesterday who cold reached out to me on Facebook for help with his business, and I'm like, my first thing was like, maybe I start a training thing, or maybe I start a little mastermind. I'm like, not yet. Mm-hmm. Keep telling myself, not yet, not yet. But if you reach out to me, I will help anybody. I'll meet with you. I'll help you, whatever you need. Text me, call me, whatever. I'm along the way. You might not hear back from me for a couple days, certain times, but I'm here. And I just want to help people, but I can't commit. I don't have the capacity to build something that I can be focused on. It wouldn't be fair to anybody, because I'd get people to come in, I'd get people to pay money, and I could help them a little bit, but never at the amount that I could and should. Yep. It's just not fair to them. So we're not ready for any of that, but it's coming. Right, we're just going to help as many people as we can in the meantime.
Yeah, man,
that's what it's all about.
I love so much that you brought up the point of focus, right? Yeah. Because seriously, every entrepreneur does struggle with it and everything. Yeah. What do you think? I guess my question is, like, with the. I still continue wanting to call it like service-based business.
It is. It's a service-based business.
Yeah. Like, that wasn't really a lack of focus, though, because you already were doing it, and it kind of was in the wheelhouse of security. Oh, yeah. So it was basically a vertical integration that you were already doing, and you kind of just packaged it in a different way and made it into its own thing. But they're still, like, do you look at them today as, two totally separate entities, or one still kind of feeds the other?
No, I do, and I'll tell you why. Right? Because my plan was, not only did I want to branch off for the reasons I described, right? Like, I need to know what the true revenue is, what's supporting, is it standing on its own? But I knew, like, eventually, like, the guard business, that, I might push that and exit that at some point before I would exit this business, because of the margins, right? The energy to resources. Now I've kind of shook that, because I like the guard business. Like, I'm working through that because it's in my DNA, basically. Mm-hmm. But they're totally separate entities. And when I went through this process, I changed my concept of business to looking at it like it's my DNA, like it's my identity, like it's who I am. I look at it like it's an asset. So how do I want that asset to perform? And then how do I want this asset to perform? And the real estate asset. And whatever I want, it's not about business. I realize that, like, I'm not that business. I'm me who enjoys business, right? So I'm not electronic security. I'm not security guard service, although it is my bulk of my background. But so I'll dive back into stuff when I shouldn't generally, but I look at them as performing assets. So when I look at the numbers, like, this revenue, we got to hit this revenue. We got to keep our operating expenses at X percentage, and we got to have this bottom line. This is where we need to be. And if we're not there, what's the path to get there? What do we have to do over the next year? Break it down into monthly, 90-day, et cetera, and hit those targets. Without doing that, I think you get lost in your business and you become a job owner instead of a business owner. And there's a difference. These things are here to make me money. They're not here for me to to work in them and be them and live them. They're here to make me money. When I realized that just recently is when I said, okay, I need to step out of this. I need to step out of being the guy that everybody comes to with the questions. What's this? What's that? Instead of them being resourceful, they come to me because I'm the path of least resistance, which for a long time made me feel good. Ego problem.
Absolutely.
Made me feel good. And I miss it.
I get it.
I miss it.
I get
you
it.
do.
Because we are professional problem solvers. That's right. What we do,
That's
man.
exactly what we are. But somebody taught me, Mark Evans taught me, like, the reason not a lot of people do what you're doing and step out of their businesses is because it's super uncomfortable. And what you end up doing is you start throwing grenades back into your business, so you have to go back in and fix them. And I'm like, holy shit, because that's all I feel like I'm going to do is like, well, why are we doing this? Or why are we doing that? Or let's try this. It's like new market and like slow down. And that's why like when I step back, I was like, let me just do what I need to do, or let them do what they need to do. Right? We're not going to hit the revenue that I want to hit right this second. We're not going to have all the problems solved right this second. But I need everybody to get comfortable running without me. And they accepted it quickly. And I had a meeting with my sister the other day, and she's like, I got to the root of the problem with the companies. I said, what is it? She's like, you're not going to want to hear this. I'm like, it's me, isn't it? She said, yeah. I'm like, I know that, but tell me why. And she said, it's your chaos, right? You create chaos without realizing you're creating chaos, and in a good way, right? We want to grow, we want to do this, we're moving so fast, and you're so urgent, and it's like, why are we moving so slow, and whatnot? And she said, you just create chaos.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I do. 100% create chaos. I said, now it's your job that when I throw things at you, you have to be mindful of them. Let's slow down. Let's put a process in place for how we handle those things. Like you said, 10 days, like 48-hour rule. We don't make any changes without waiting 48 hours to say, like, what are we going to do? What do we think about this? And I'm like, that's what I needed.
Yeah, man.
I needed to let the people do what they're supposed to do, and they love it. And I'm not there to create the freaking headaches for it. I was in the office this morning, and I haven't been there in probably since like early last week, and I'm like, I don't even want to be here. Because it's like, now I'm different for it. And it's only been a few months. Like I'm different. Like I need to be out and moving and doing things and talking to people and this and that. Like me sitting in an office is just like, oh my God, I can't do this. Unless I have a task that I'm doing specifically, just can't do it. Just can't sit there anymore, But I vastly appreciate the people in my company. And I think they appreciate me. For all the things that we've been through and the risks I've taken and the carrying of certain people and stuff.
Yeah, man.
But we have a dedicated team, man. I mean, I'm so lucky to have them, for sure. So lucky to have them.
Dude, that's awesome. So like as you were kind of developing, I guess, KPIs to be able to effectively look at numbers to be able to make business decisions as a result of it. Like, dude, I get really lucky with the wholesale business because it's very easy to quantify everything. Like everything already is basically quantified.
Right.
So it's just, what do I want to track and how? But in a lot of other businesses, a lot of other industries, it's like, there's a lot of things that it's like, how do I quantify the effectiveness of a security guard? And am I going to have more churn with customers as a result of his shitty attitude? It's like, how do you quantify that?
Right.
So how'd you determine all those things?
It's very, very difficult. And I would agree, like with wholesaling or any arbitration business like that, it's kind of cookie cutter, right? What you measure, it's how many.
That's right.
With the guard business, I learned to measure a couple things. One, overtime is an obvious one, not just from a money standpoint. Like if we're paying a lot of overtime, it's costing me money.
So say that in another way. What do you mean by that? Overtime.
So if I have a guard that works 40 hours a week.
Overtime. Got it. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So if I'm paying overtime, so if we have a weekly number of like, we don't want to be over 400 hours of overtime or something like that. If I see that trending upwards, I know hiring's down. I know there's more call outs, or I know we fired people or people have quit. So I look at like why, because if it's on the same location, like if there's one shopping center we do and we've replaced 2 people there in the past 3 months, well, that client is not happy. What's going on with that? So I start to recognize kind of, it's KPIs, but I look at it more like trends, right? Like what's trending up and down in that world. And it all comes down, that I've learned, it all comes down to how many we're hiring, how many we're firing, that overtime bill, and that turnover. So if turnover starts increasing, If we're supposed to lose like maybe 2 or 3 a week, and it's like, well, we've lost 5 or we lost 10 over the last month, what's happening? What are we doing, right? And the team measures all that, and they kind of feel like the gas pedal. Like, are we pushing down or are we braking? Well, what's happening here? And we measure it that way. So in that world too, like we have a guard to our software we use, right? So they have to do checkpoints, they have to do reports. So we can kind of trace the data of who's doing what and who's doing what. Yep. We just had a client call for a shopping center. Like the guard, put a chair in a mechanical closet and was sitting there with their feet up. And the client comes in, introduces himself, doesn't even take their feet down.
Oh man!
Like these are the things you're like, oh my god. So we re-engage with like proactive. We got to find that chair before client finds that chair, right? Proactiveness is going to crush everything, but
it's hard though.
When you have a lot of overtime, a lot of call outs, and then you're moving and you're doing this, and it's like I can't get to everything, so you have to weigh that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And we base it on hours, right? So if we're doing so many hours or so many contracted sites, you can figure out like, all right, how many people do you need? And with our current team, we know we can get this so many more sites before we need another supervisor, something like that, right? So that's like the simple concept of that industry, which is obviously a very unique labor-based business. Yeah. The electronic security side is more based on efficiency, right? So obviously you track your numbers, right? You track your sales numbers. How many contacts are we making? How many are we closing? So on and so forth. What's the rebuttals? What did we lose? What did we gain? Et cetera. The normal stuff. Yep. And see what's trending. But efficiency of time is really what matters. So if you have to go install a camera and it should take 1.5 hours per camera, and we end up taking 2 hours and 25 minutes per camera, well, we lost money on that job, right? We needed to take 1.5 hours at worst case scenario. It needs to be like 1 hour and 10 minutes. And my director of operations with that company is unfreaking believable at understanding the efficiency. He's the analytical type where he digs in and it's like, no, this should not have taken you that long. What happened? I know something happened. Did you goof off? Did you get a wire snag? Was there a problem? What was the issue? Sometimes there are legitimate issues. We just want to know why so we can track that. Yep. Tracking that efficiency is super important. And I think people overlook that. But the efficiency is where the money is. Efficiency is where the money is. If you're saying to a client, it's going to be 8 hours of time and it takes 12. Well, one, generally, unless there's a problem, you can't go back and bill them for it unless there was an issue with them. Right. And two, you look bad. Yeah. You look like you're not a high quality company. Yep. You said 8 and it took 12 and you have no legitimate reason why it got delayed like that. You had 2 guys here for 12 hours. It doesn't make any sense. So there's a lot of different reasons for that. But that's one of the things that we dig into is our efficiency of what we do to make sure it's at its top gain and why. And how can we get better? I love that, man. And, one of the ways that for me, as I was scaling the wholesale company, like I was always big on direct mail, right? Yeah. And a lot of the mail that I sent early on, dude, it was like third notice postcards and like everybody hates them and everything. But the beauty of that postcard was it generated a very low quality, a lot of times uninterested lead. But what it did for us was it gave so much lead volume, which leads to repetition, right? Yeah. So now it's repetition of, first and foremost, the lead actually coming into our system, into our CRM, and being able to track it and have automations and all these other things, make sure everything is working the way that it's supposed to. Then for our sales team, it's repetition of, especially when they first start, getting a lot of no's, getting a lot of fuck yous, a lot of leave me alones or whatever. Dude, it builds it's practice, right? That's it, man. You're just hitting the axe against the tree. It's really hard to your point of spending a lot of money in marketing and everything. Like there's nothing worse than just running a high cost lead generation campaign where you're paying $300, $400, $500 per lead and you're not taking those leads by yourself. You're handing them over to a sales rep that may be new and they're green with your company and everything. And you're training them. You're trying to get them up to speed, but they say the wrong thing to just 5 leads. It's like, man, it's, it can cost a lot of money. So I love the idea of having a low cost way of getting repetitions in for your company to test your systems and software, and then to be able to train your people and bring them up to speed without spending $1 million, man. Yeah, and that's a hard part. So like what we do when we bring a new technician in, like they got to ride with the project manager for 2 weeks. Like I don't care what experience you have. You could come from the best company or be green. you're riding with them for 2 weeks because we need to gauge what you can do.
For sure.
Running that commitment, because we just can't send you out and say, okay, go install this camera or go troubleshoot this when you say on the resume you say you do it, but in person you have no idea how to do it. You know what I mean? And that's the biggest thing I think is people hire too late for what they need, and they have to throw them into situations that is going to cost them money. It's going to burn them. Sometimes you need to do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes like lead overflow is lead overflow. It's better to have the wrong person calling them than no person at all. We know that. So you got to do things, but in an ideal world, like you got to be hiring before you need to hire, right? Or you need to be interviewing before you need to hire and have a backlog of those people. I mean, you need to be able to pluck them when they're ready. It's not easy.
I get it, man.
It's not easy. But, you know, you can't always be, I think the most successful companies in the small business world are the highest quality and they're charging the right price. You can't be the cheapest. If you're the cheapest, you're going to get the cheapest help.
Yep.
But if you're like, hey, we know we're going to cost this much money and you're getting that work, you got to go poach the other technicians or whatever you want to call them and pay them more.
Yeah.
Get the best.
Yep.
And your efficiency is going to offset that cost by $1 million in the long run. And you can't quantify that today because you're looking at like, okay, well, $40 an hour or 45 or 50 and I'm billing X and my margins go down. Yeah, but it's going to take him 2 hours to do something that's taking this guy 4.
Right.
So you're making up 2 hours every day on something.
Yep.
So
and that's one of my points from earlier. Like a lot of things are very challenging to quantify.
Oh, they are.
So it's like, how do you make those decisions when I know that in the short term, it may cost me more money, but it'll be better down the road. Like those are some of the hard decisions you have to make. But you can never make those decisions if you don't make enough money in the first place.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. If you're not making enough money and generating enough revenue, those conversations are irrelevant.
You got to grind it out until you have enough money to be able to kind of take shots on some things, right?
Yeah. You know, like I was saying earlier about, you know, the guy I met with, like a couple of the things he brought up was like, you know, I'm looking to bring this guy in to help me. I said, okay, like, but what does that look like? If you bring this person in to help you when you already need new business, now you have unnecessary pressure to pay this guy. And what happens is like, you think the work's going to come, you stop paying yourself as much as you want to get paid, you're paying this guy to carry him because if the work comes, you need him, but you're creating this pressure bubble on yourself that you can't focus on what's most important, right? Which is going to get the work. You need to create the revenue first. Create the revenue where you can't keep up, then you got to bring somebody on, you know? And the thing I said too was like line of credit. Like he's like, I got to get a line of credit to fill in the gaps. I said, dude, you're gonna give yourself false hope by having that line of credit there. You're gonna make you think like, I can wait for that, I can do this, I can spend this, I can go buy that. And I'm telling you right now, you're gonna be wrong.
Yeah.
Everybody in business has been. It's just you're gonna be wrong if you spend that money or even get it. I said, don't even have it. It's gonna make you operate leaner and be more desperate. And you need desperate right now. You need to go out and get it. And he's not desperate, but I said, act desperate.
Dude.
Go get it.
So that word just makes me think of so many different things. Pressure. What does pressure mean to you? Is it a blessing?
It's a blessing. It's a blessing. It is. It's definitely, I don't like it. I don't look forward to it, but I love it in the moment because it forces me to do things. Yeah, right, man. Yep. It makes you make decisions that you should have already made. You know what I mean? And that's what I take pressure as, for sure. And I don't like to create it unnecessarily. I avoid it like the freaking plague. If I think something could create a pressure bubble that's going to force me to make a decision like that, then we really examine that to figure out, is this where we need to do? Is this really worth doing or whatnot? But, you know, like we think in business sometimes like, yeah, we made it, right? We're in business. Like, yeah, we took the risk. We jumped. You got to keep jumping. There's no top of the mountain shit.
That's it.
You got to keep going. Like you got to find new limbs to jump onto. So
Rents
there's
due
risks
every
you got to
day,
take,
motherfucker.
Yeah, you got to keep taking those risks and keep working through it. Otherwise, you don't grow. And if you don't grow, you will 100% die. I've done it multiple times. I fully
agree with that, man.
Multiple times.
A lot of people say that no, there is a happy medium between death and growth. Yeah. I don't think there is, man. I think you have to be growing.
Yeah, not
because,
for me,
dude, I think everything is always changing, no matter what. I can relate that to my wholesale business. I can relate it to my rental portfolio. I can relate it to the fix and flips. I can relate it to the software. Nothing is ever the same as it was the year prior.
Never.
The way we operate, the way that we recruit, the way that, we handle software and everything. Bro, that's another huge one that I want to ask you. Like, what's your take on AI and how that may change your business moving forward?
It already has, right? It already has changed my business. I'm sure you've seen them in parking lots where you got a trailer with a bunch of cameras on.
Oh,
They're looking like AI, like that is hurting the business in different aspects, right? Helping one business, hurting another business. But like AI, it has to be embraced. I just saw somebody said the other day that I follow, like AI is like the internet bubble. Like, and it is like, it's coming, it's here. Mm-hmm. If you're not in, you're out. Yeah. And I'm trying to get my team to adapt more to it. Just using it on like the small scale, right? Besides like the bigger stuff, but like just using ChatGPT on a daily basis. Just use it on a daily basis. You're going to find the impact, and then you're going to learn different prompts and how it can really help you. And once you see how it works, you're like, holy shit, like I have to do this. Yep. It doubles my ability to work, and they're already doing it. But really embracing how AI is going to affect our softwares, as well know, it's so important to learn what it has to offer in our businesses. And we're in that mix right now where we're really starting to learn more about how it can not just increase our business operations, but how we can use it as a net effect in the field, for us. For sure. But you have to be embracing it. If you're not embracing AI, I mean, you're in big trouble. You're like a guy that's like, I don't need a computer. Like, it's just not possible. It's just not.
It's going to change a lot of things, man.
It's
going to change a lot of things. But there's that kind of science fiction conversation of robots are going to wipe out humanity and everything. And I think that the truth is it's not going to be robots that take jobs away. It's going to be the business owners that embrace the technology and AI that are going to take those jobs from the other little guy that didn't want to adapt and didn't want to change, because there's no way it can't lead to massive efficiency in everything. No question. Like it will lower cost of everything, right? Like, so if you're able to, do a monitoring package for a client or whatever, dude, you might just be able to cut your operating expenses by like 100x. What's that going to mean for you and the industry and everything? Who knows, man? But
and your enterprise value, it means a lot. It means a lot. I mean, it's going to take over a lot of white collar jobs, right? Like the blue collar market was always afraid that it's going to robots and all that. That may be an eventual thing. I don't know. I'm sure it's going to have some level of assistance. But the white collar jobs, like where you and I would be like, hey, we need our attorney to write us a contract. And we just say, write us this contract, refine it to this, XYZ, bing, bang, boom, and here's your contract within like 11 minutes. And it didn't cost you $175 for 11 minutes, right? Like those are the things that are really going to have a net effect. People that do copy and all those things, like those are the net effect that are really going to be affected. And I think not enough people are talking about that.
Yeah, man.
For sure. The blue collar space is more than safe right now, more than safe. And I think kids that are looking to get into the blue collar space, which is excellent, I think they should be learning the new blue collar, which is how do I work on these machines that are coming?
Yeah, man.
That's the freaking future. These are the jobs that are going to be created in this country. Is how do we keep these machines running? Because if one person can run 100 machines, that's an expensive position.
Sure is.
Well-paid position. And it's going to be a lot of technology, but also like there's nuts and bolts to these machines.
Of course.
That's a blue collar / IT job, you know? So new jobs are going to be created. And I think we forget that. We get so scared that AI is going to take over jobs. It is, but it's going to create new jobs.
It is.
You just have to learn new skills. And I get that. Like, that sucks if you're 62 years old and you've done something for the last 30 years of your life. That sucks. I understand it, but it's forever happening.
Yeah.
It's forever happening. I can't help you there. You know, we are blessed that you and I are growing up and have grown up in this generation. But we've also didn't wait.
Right.
To take our leaps.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what the climate is. It doesn't matter what the environment is. Like, you just have to jump in anyway. And you have to embrace everything that's going on around you, whether you like it or not, man.
Yeah. I mean, I could tell you last year, just not even 12 months ago, I would have had a different outlook on AI. I would have been like, I never really have anything to do with my business. I'll worry about that down the road. And now, not even 12 months later, I'm like, guys, we got to embrace this thing, do X, Y, Z. Everyone's got to be using it on a daily basis. Like, it changes that quickly. You could start a business today that may be obsolete next week.
Yeah.
Like, literally that quick.
Yeah.
But guess what? Whatever you learn in that time period is going to be applicable for your next one. It just is what it is.
Fully agree, man.
This is what it is. I mean, you have to operate in that mindset, I think.
I agree. I'm with you.
Got to work through it all.
So tell me a little bit about the fix and flips. As you
Yeah.
did the first one, it was a learning experience where you lost some money. You did the next one, made some money. So what has like the cadence been like since you kind of decided you're going to flip houses on the side of what you're already doing?
Yeah. So I do have a partner in that business. Our goal is 12 houses this year. Right?
I love it.
We're on number 5 right now. And like, deal flow is not always the easiest thing. And the fear is, maybe you don't have this fear, maybe you do, but I have the fear like, all right, deal flow is low right now, so I'm going to get into this project at this number. And then I'm afraid that the home run's coming right behind it, and I can't because capital's tied up. That's my biggest fear. So I think math is math. And I think you need to stick with the box that you're in and say, like, I need to make X. It needs to be this percentage to do it. And that's it. Because if you don't, which I've been guilty of, you get tied up in a deal that, like, okay, I've been in this deal for 6 months, and I'm like, I made like $8,000. Like, this is stupid.
Yeah,
it doesn't apply.
That doesn't make sense.
You know, obviously. So I think you got to tie to what you want to buy it at. Buying is the most important thing. People make that mistake. I've made that mistake. What you're buying it at, nothing else matters.
Yep.
Nothing else. The rehab will never be what you think it is. And the exit will never be what you think it is. It's always what you're freaking buying that property for. It don't matter.
Dude, I think I've only hit one budget in my life, and it was recently, man. It was recently.
Yeah, I mean, I saw you post the other day, like, your 6-week project trying to get to 4 weeks. I'm like, dude, like, I need to get to that. You know what I mean? Because I'm still at, like, 60, 90 days is what we're looking at. Like, I got to shrink that down. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but knowing what you're doing ahead of time is the bigger play. I think knowing what floors, what paint, what tile, what sink, what cabinets, what you're doing, know your market so you know what those things are.
Yep.
Because I think, like, we spend a lot of time like, oh, well, what should we do with this? Should we do this tile? And it's like, stop getting crazy. What is the market telling you that it is? That's what you need to cookie cut.
Fully agree, man. And that was a really hard ego thing for me to get over. For the longest time, man, every house I did, I wanted them all to be different. I wanted them
beautiful
all to be
special.
You spend so much time, and it's hard to quantify because a lot of times, you can probably relate to this as well. It's like you don't really track that time, and you're laying there in bed at night and you're shopping on Home Depot for the backsplash tile for 2 hours of your life, but you don't actually track that time.
Nope.
So you're not able to look back and say, I spent 220 hours over the course of the last 6 months on this project, right? Yeah. But yeah, man, like I've finally gotten to the point where I don't care. We do the same backsplash in every house. We do the same cabinets. Yep. We do the same countertops. We do the same toilets, the same vanities with like slight variations when it's like size differences. I can fit a 24-inch vanity or a 48, right?
The vanity,
But for the most part, it's the same paints, the same light fixtures, the same everything. And yeah, man, it's a kick to the ego to be like, oh, well, my houses aren't like showstoppers they were 5-6 years ago.
Right.
But guess what, dude? I'd rather, make money than have something that I'm like, hey, man, look how cool this looks.
Yeah, right. We both know that doesn't
We're in it to make money,
bills.
man.
That's it. It's in it to make money, and the time frame and the stress and the resources that get drawn from it, those are what matters. Like, what deal are we not doing? What are we not looking at? What are the important things that we're not looking at?
That's right.
So we're trying to like fine tune our processes with that to make sure we're dialing in everything we're supposed to do, speed up those processes, and we're doing it, like I said, we're not going crazy where we're like, I want to be a 6-week project today, but like that's the goal. Is like, how do we get it down to that? Because as we know, it costs money to hold a house.
Sure does.
And that money's your money.
Yep.
It's your freaking money. It's coming right off the top.
And that's the thing. That's one of my issues right now is like I'm trying to run the fix and flip company so lean and I'm doing a good job of that. But what I'm not doing a good job of is like, okay, yeah, so we're hitting an average of 6 weeks, 7 weeks right now. But I also have 3 projects sitting while I'm doing that one that's 6 weeks, right? So I'm not doing all of them at the same time simultaneously.
Yeah.
So it's like we're finishing one and there's 3 sitting until we're done that one.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, like since I've been posting more on social media about I'm doing more projects and everything, I have so many people reaching out to me, oh, I'll GC it, I'll run it for you and everything. And every time that I've had this conversation with guys in the past few months, it seems that, man, it's a totally shit deal for me. It's like, hey, Drew, here's my proposition for you. I'm going to run the project for you. And the budget that I was going to spend $35,000 on, they're like, I'll get that done for you. It's going to be $55,000 in rehab, but I'll handle everything for you. And then I'll take half the profit at the end. It's like, nah, man, I'd rather just hold on to it for 3 months and, burn some money in interest costs, It's
we're doing projects up in Levittown. Right. Okay. So Levittown's a good market right now, Pennsbury School District. So we partner with a contractor up there, and he manages the whole project. And I've known him for years. He used to run construction for Streamline Construction. I've known him for years. Great human being. And so we get everything at cost, right? All the construction's at cost. He GCs it, and then we split the profit at the end.
I love it.
But there's no additional cost for him, right? He's not in it, and we're doing the finance part of it, and literally we really don't have to worry about it, which is a unique thing to have, right? Yeah. We still visit it, we still look at it, but we don't have to worry about, if he says the plumber was there, the plumber was there.
Right.
I know it, right? So I agree, but if he was putting 20 grand on top of it, I'd be like, dude, the deal's dead. There's no money for anybody.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And those deals are the specific ones I was talking about, we got to buy them better. Those are ones that are a little tighter up there. The market was good at the first one, for buying, but now it's a popular area. So those numbers start creeping up, but the exit number hasn't creeped up enough yet.
Right.
So it's a game, you got to keep reviewing it. What the market was 3 months ago does not mean it's not today. It's almost never the case. So, but fine tuning those processes, I think is in any business, but especially in fix and flip for me right now is important. Figuring out we don't have really a process. So now, we're building it now, but what is it?
Yeah.
What's it going to be? And then every project, review it. Let's fine tune it.
That's right.
You know what I mean? But I don't know about you. I freaking love flipping properties.
Dude, it's awesome.
So much fun.
It's awesome.
It's so much fun.
It's
awesome.
stressful
in its own way.
It's
but
a
so
love-hate relationship.
Right.
It's seriously, I do love the process. I even love the construction aspect.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, if I didn't make so much money in the other things that I do, dude, I wouldn't mind being a contractor and working on my own flips all day, every day, and that's all that I do.
Yep, me too.
But it's I make way more money in my other businesses, right? So it's just not feasible. It doesn't make sense. But some of the stuff that drives me nuts and will probably never change is just the townships, the red tape. We were talking about it upstairs and everything. Dude, here it took me 8 months to get permits.
Yeah,
when you can look at that and think, I can get this entire project done in 8 to 10 weeks, but it took me 8 months to get my permits.
Yeah, for what?
Man, that's brutal.
And it's not like you're building a development here, where you need that kind of time to do things. I mean, that's what we're saying. The inconsistency in those townships and stuff like that.
It's a challenge.
It's challenging, right? And I don't really blame the inspectors. It's just what the process is.
Right.
It's just what it is. But it's a shame that even then they don't have any consistency of what it is. One person can say one thing, one says the other. It's a pain, but it makes our lives much more difficult to try to work through.
Man, I've been saying ever since the Elon and Doge thing that we need Doge in local small government.
I agree.
For all of these inefficiencies and red tape. Oh my God. Dude, seriously, I would go back to, what my goal is to flip a couple hundred houses a year.
Yeah.
If you could remove that aspect from it and the inconsistency, but.
Oh yeah, it makes it more possible. It's the timing though. You can't do everything. You can't do everything at one time, and that's part of the problem. But getting overwhelmed is a scary thing.
Yeah.
Right. And once you're overwhelmed, you make bad decisions and things like that. That's where you really got to look at what you're doing before you get into it like that, because you're going to have permit problems. You're going to have headaches. You're going to have changes. You're going to have red tape. You're going to have time.
Yep.
You really have to understand it beforehand. I've been there. I made those mistakes, but hopefully somebody learns from it and they don't have to make that same mistake.
That's exactly right, man. That's
the overall goal for all of us, right? So we can help somebody speed their process up, cut down on their time.
100%. So how do you think of piggybacking to the topic of focus, right?
Yeah.
So you got these two companies, they're kicking ass. They're still on somewhat of a growth trajectory, right? But you're also over here flipping houses.
Yeah. Well,
how do you internalize that?
Yeah, that was for a long time it was difficult, recently difficult. I felt like I wasn't paying enough attention to anything. And as one would go up, maybe the next one wouldn't go up as much, and the next one would be dropping. I couldn't carry them all. I just couldn't, and I was trying to. I was trying to be the guy for every company, and it just doesn't work. But what it allowed me to do was refine processes and operations in each company to say, like, where can we be more efficient? Where can we streamline? And like I said, look at them as assets. But who's in charge of those assets? And what does it take to operate those assets, right? These are people. How am I going to structure this? Create that holding company with all the back end to oversee them all. And then we push up, right? So everything, they pay a management fee up. Everything gets paid out of that company. And then these companies are really streamlined for growth. The hard part is getting the people to understand that, right? Because they want to see us working, right? They tie their identity to us working. And it's like, well, Matt's not working. Matt's on a podcast, or Matt's doing this. It's like, yes, you're here to run this business, right? And make money for yourself and for me. That's what it is. You know what I mean? But it's a hard culture change.
It is.
It is. And I'm still in the midst of working on it. I brought in a consultant for one company to help, I met this brother and sister. They built a HVAC and plumbing company out of Utah. Okay. And they exited for a big exit. And he was doing like 10 or 12 million. And then she came in, they should have brought like 20, 25, whatever it was. And then they exited. And they built this consulting group, just the two of them. They help companies like look at what they're doing and kind of streamline their operations with quicker processes. And I'm big on, if I can cut down time and move this needle forward, I'll pay you to do it.
Compress timelines, baby.
They came in for a day, spent a day with the team. I wasn't even there. I stayed out, so they felt open to talk about it. They dug in. They evaluated each team member, recommended some changes, and now we have like weekly calls with them to accountability, et cetera, which will scale down on the back end as we grow. I've gotten paid for that already. Quickly. And what it did too was it gave, like I said, my sister's vice president, gave her insight into other entrepreneurs that she realizes like Matt's normal.
Yeah.
Just what we are.
Yeah.
We're in different ways,
Relatively.
But in this world, he's normal.
Exactly.
And then talking to, her name's Dana, realizing Dana says Stephanie, you're excellent. You can do this. You can master this. You got to build your confidence in it, blah, blah, blah. She's embraced it and taken it over. And I lacked the leadership ability to get her to recognize that. And I recognized that in myself. That's what I needed to do. And now when we did that, what I've been working on with her for 2 years got done in 2 weeks. That's the freaking real life experience you got to apply to that. I can't speak higher than that on bringing in the right people to help you or getting the right help and training. People don't believe in it. People think it's a scam.
I know.
And all this.
I know they do.
Listen, there are a lot of people out there that will take advantage of you. There are.
Yep.
You really got to do your due diligence to make sure and talk to the right people. Talk to the people involved. You're not always the heads of people. Talk to the people involved.
Yeah.
Of what their experiences are, and you're going to get the real insight what it is. But collapsing that time, man, on everything we do is, it really will take us from 1 to 10 instead of 1 to 2 to 3 to 4.
And it effectively bought back some of your time as well, right?
Tons of my time.
Exactly like you said, you're not married to it anymore. You're trying to remove yourself. And that's kind of the point that I want to drive home, because too many people, when they're first starting out or they're in their first couple years of business, whatever industry it might be, they do look up to guys like you, and they're like, exactly like you said, well, he's got all these other businesses, so the right path is to have multiple businesses. But that is absolutely the wrong path until you get to a point where you have sustainability, you put people in place, you have systems and processes, and it's tried and true, and you are able to remove yourself without it falling apart. And that doesn't mean, because a lot of gurus do kind of like tout the whole thing. Oh, fucking work 2 hours a week and your business is going to grow and it's going to be great. Go sit on a beach. Yeah. I don't think that really exists. I know a lot of really successful people that make a lot of money.
Yeah.
None of them have that.
Yeah.
But to the point where you can start to buy back some of your time. And maybe it's, like for a guy like me, going from spending 100 hours a week down to 60 hours a week. It's like, dude, that's a lot of time that I bought back. Yeah. And maybe for a lot of people, that means spend more time with your family. Right. Then you cut back a little bit more. And it's like, wow, I really only need to work 20 hours a week now. And the business may not be exploding like, when I first started, I thought I wanted to go from 2 to 20.
Right.
Maybe it's like I'm on the path from 2 to 3 and 3 to
steadily.
4.
With predictability.
But I'm doing it. There's predictability. I'm not in cash crunches all the time and everything.
I think
that's where freedom starts to come from.
No question. And when I first walked away, for the first 2 weeks, I was probably in almost a state of depression. Like, I didn't know what to do, didn't know where to go. I didn't want to talk to the people in the businesses, to bother them. Like, I remember texting my dad one day, hey, I'm bored. You want to grab lunch? He's like, yeah. He runs the guard company, right? She's like, yeah, I'll come meet you. I'm like, I don't want to talk about business. Let's just, whatever. I didn't know what to do until I figured out, what is my new path, right? And there's a friend of mine, this is just recent. I texted him on the Monday after Easter, and I was singing to my daughter, putting her to bed, and he just popped in my head, right? And he lives in Ohio. So I texted him. I said, hey, buddy, hope you had a good Easter or whatever. Here's a guy. He's a freaking moose, man. Big dude, muscular. He's a bodybuilder. Videographer, pastor, a bunch of different stuff. Great human being, though, Matt Trammell. And so I texted him, happy Easter, buddy. He's like, oh, man, I'm so happy to hear from you. Hope you had a great Easter. What's going on? How are you? And, I just, what I would normally say is, everything's good, I'm great. I said, I'm in a little bit of a rut. I'm trying to figure my shit out here, and I'm making some changes. And he says to me, he's like, tell me what I can pray for you for. I'm like, wow. Nobody's ever asked me that, except for my dad. You're right. He's big on that. And I said, I need clarity. I said, that's what I'm searching for, is clarity. I don't know where I'm going, what I'm doing. And he said, dude, consider it done. And 2 days later, I was listening to an old, a podcast from 2014. And whatever they were talking about, got my mind realizing why I did what I did, create all these companies and this holding company. And my goal now is I'm going to fine tune the holding company, make sure I have the proper people in place so I can add businesses to the portfolio and refocus and repurpose that over and over and over again, right? Not just to run these assets, it's to run multiple assets and plan exits in different assets for those paydays, right?
Okay.
And I realized that is my freaking goal. That's my clarity, is that's what I want. And at the same time, freeing up my time for my family, And that's what I was I know I don't work Fridays anymore. Obviously calls and emails, we know that, but I don't go anywhere Fridays. I spend the day with my wife and my kids. That's what we do.
It's so cool.
It's awesome, right? It's a beautiful thing. But so searching for that clarity in what you want, truly what you want, not what you think you want, not what the freaking social media tells you want. What do you want is so important, because how can you go get it without it? Mm-hmm. How can you? You can't. It's impossible. So focusing on that clarity has been a huge game changer for me over the past 2 weeks of all right, I feel reinvigorated. I know what I'm working on. I'm rebalancing my time for what I'm doing. And I'm just no longer concerned about those businesses, because I know we're measuring things and I have the right people and we'll be okay, right? Whatever happens, we're going to figure it out. And I have the trust of people to do it. And they'll come to me if they can't. And I just have weekly meetings to say, what's going on? Give me the highlights. Just want to see the numbers. Give me the highlights. So I would say the number one thing for a lot of people needs to be clarity. Just get your clarity on what you want, what you're looking to do, and what you're looking to build, and go from there.
Would you say that is good advice? Is that what you would recommend to somebody that is, in their first 2 years of business?
So no, right? And here's why. Because you don't know what you want. You haven't learned anything to figure out what you want. So if your first 2 years, I would say probably the first 3 years of business, maybe even more, depending on your growth pattern. But the first 3 years in business, the only thing that matters is revenue.
That's
generate
why I
revenue.
asked.
Yeah.
I fully agree, man. I fully agree.
Yeah, and I appreciate you giving that, because I don't want to be the guy that's fast forwarding people's time. When you're still in that grind of 2 or 3 years where it's just you and it's keeping you up at night, revenue is the only thing that matters. Recognizing that not every client, not every customer is going to be good and quality and pay you, et cetera, but the lessons you learn in those moments are going to be important. Revenue is the only thing that matters.
Make the money.
That's it.
Yeah.
Go make the money.
Go hunt.
Go hunt. Get the work. Get the money. Make the reputation. Don't take anything on that you can't do quality work on. Is what I would say is important.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love
and
that.
I've made that mistake where I've taken on too much, where it was outside of, like, we took on work up in Allentown before, and it was just outside my arm's reach, where we just couldn't service it properly, and we lost that contract. And that property manager to this day hasn't hired us back. But it doesn't. And what I did was I recognized that, and I called him and apologized, and I told him the truth.
And that's hard, man.
Man, it is. I'm a very good at self-reflecting anymore for the past maybe 3-4 years. Like, even when, like, I'm an emotional person where, like, I'll get heated quick, right? Or I'll have a response quick. And I've learned not to send those emails or text messages, but occasionally you do.
Yep.
And I did it not that long ago, maybe last year, maybe a year and a half ago, to a client that had a complaint or something. And I literally sent them another email like a couple days later, apologizing, like eating my words. And like, it was emotional response, and I do apologize. I shouldn't. I have to get better at that. And she didn't respond to my original email, but she responded like, thank you for your candid apology. I really appreciate that. And there's a relationship I have with her. Like, she knows what I am and who I am, and she appreciates me recognizing it myself. Like, dude, that is the value, is being authentic. So don't be afraid. Like, if you make a mistake and say something you shouldn't say or act a certain way, which we've all done.
Yeah, of course.
Is apologize.
Yeah.
Own it. It's just
all
human
do it,
beings.
man.
We're all human beings.
That's right.
And if somebody holds it against you, that's an internal problem for them.
Yep.
Because we're all freaking
But you're
problems.
able to sleep well at night. It's like,
man.
dude, I did what I could, and I reflected. I apologized.
Yeah,
now
I fucked
can
it up.
carry on.
Sorry, man. Like, I shouldn't have, and I didn't mean to. I'm working on it. I'm getting better at it, and mean it, right? Like, mean it. It's not about that. But so circling back to your thing of, like, first 2-3 years, man, you got to be digging in, and you get your shit done.
I love it.
Get the revenue.
love
Build.
Last question for you,
buddy.
man. If you could go back, right, to when you started all this, having the knowledge and wisdom and foresight that you do now, would you have done anything differently?
I don't know if I would or if I should or whatever, but I think I wouldn't. I don't think I would have learned as much, not just about business, but about myself as I did going through the trials and tribulations.
I got goosebumps when you're saying that.
Those lessons that I learned about me and myself and how I operate, and that self-reflection and the heartache and the emotion and the brain power, that's the invaluable thing that I've learned. The making money is great. We love it, and it's addictive and everything and all that stuff. But, like, learning things about yourself and who you are and how you can be best in this world, man, it gives you the ability to walk out your front door and not look over your shoulder and just be confident in who you are. And that, I think, is the value of those lessons that we've all learned, for sure.
Dude, I love that.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Incredible self-reflection and everything in that. And, seriously, obviously there's so much wisdom behind that response
Sure.
and everything. And there's a lot of pain behind that. There's a lot of, there's a lot of success behind that, and that's kind of, it's really impressive what you've gone through, what you've done, what you've persevered and everything.
Thank you.
And, the man that you are today and everything. It's awesome that you're sharing that message, you're sharing that story, because we talked about this even at lunch, right? There's a lot of guys that they only want to share that highlight reel and everything.
Yeah, and when after I come out of this problem, like, I was fearful, I was embarrassed by it. I shouldn't have had this problem. I should have not made these mistakes. I should have been a millionaire already. Telling myself a story, when I realized, like, no, like, dude, you're like, this is what Sean Whalen says, right? Your mess is your message. Your mess is your freaking message. What you're putting at, what you did and who you are is who you are.
Yeah, man.
Be that.
Yep.
You can change, you can make, differences, but I think sharing our stuff, man, is what helps other people. And maybe it doesn't always help in business or work or their job. But I feel like we can help people as individuals too.
I fully agree,
just
man.
by talking about who the fuck we are as people and men and whatever, you know.
Yep.
As hard as and vulnerable it is, like we're the same way, like egos and we want to be this, we want to be the baddest, we want to be the best and yada, yada, yada. But being vulnerable, I think, is the proof's in the pudding with that.
Dude, I fully agree. And that's the thing. It's like a lot of times I share stuff that, it was really, really challenging for me or whatever. The reason that I'm doing it, like when I first started doing it years ago, people were like, oh man, that was sad what you wrote about or whatever. And, why'd you do that? Like you looking for sympathy. It's like, no, not at all. No. What I'm looking for is hopefully one person listens to the experience that I had and they're able to not experience that pain in the way that I did, and they're able to make a little tweak if they happen to be in that same situation as I was.
Right.
That's all that I fucking hope for. Yeah. And having kind of that echo chamber of having people that did reach out to me over the last few years and be like, dude, I listened to that one thing that you said that one time, and I experienced something very similar, and I was able to kind of get through it because of what you shared. It's like, dude, that's freaking awesome.
People don't realize, like, at least for me, when I post stuff, and I'm sure you have the same opinion of this, is when I post stuff, I'm posting it for two people. Both of them are me. Me now and me then, who's a different person now, obviously, that hopefully they can learn from it and get to where I am faster because they don't have to. Those are the two people I'm posting for. Sometimes I'm posting to remind myself, get something out of my head or get my thought out and belief that I'm talking to me, reminding myself of this stuff that we need to think about.
I love that, man.
And it's that person that I used to be, that's somewhere, some guy standing there thinking, man, I needed that today. Because we've all had that where like you just turn on a random podcast or a random social media and you're like, dude, I needed that today.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting that in front of me because I freaking needed it.
I've never heard that put that way, but you're absolutely right. And just reflecting on that now in real time, that's exactly what I do, man.
Yeah.
I'm talking to me years ago,
right,
giving the advice that I fucking wish someone gave me.
Yeah, that's right. And now we can, right?
I love that, man.
Now we can. And hopefully more people can see this podcast and see our social media and everything and really dig in because we want, abundance, right? We want abundance. Everybody can be successful. Everybody can make a lot of money. Everybody can have freedom. We want everybody to believe in abundance and be around us.
I love that, brother.
Sure, man.
Thank you so much.
Dude, I
awesome message, awesome story. Where can people find you?
So you find me on Facebook, Matt Gough, Gough. I'm on there. Matt from Mainline on Instagram. That's the two places that I'm the hottest on.
I love it, brother. Yeah. Thanks so much for coming on.
Appreciate it, brother.
Appreciate
Thank you. You got it.